Tomorrow, we'll be decoding what those mean. Please do not panic. This is not a declaration of war by any means. This is only to prepare all Indians to reduce chaos and avoid panic in the eventuality of some kind of an escalation against Pakistan. Trust NDTV to keep you ahead and give you all the information you need right here on this show. We'll also be joined by one of the most respected former cops to put into perspective what will be happening tomorrow so you are not confused for even a moment. But viewer, let me also remind you that today is 2 weeks since the Pahalgam attack. And the spotlight, while still on the terrorists who are out there, are equally on those within who continue to obviously help them. A big NDTV exclusive today on India Matters from here in Kashmir. I managed to convince a man accused of being an overground worker, a helper, a person who actually supports terrorists. That's what he was accused of in the past. He tells us about what OGWs really are, how they work, and how they apparently help terrorists, including who could perhaps be shielding the terrorists in Pahalgam who are still out there 2 weeks after they murdered 26 innocents in the Baisaran meadow. But we're going to start off with the big story on India Matters from Kashmir, and it is the mock drills. From where I'm bringing you this story in Srinagar, there will be extensive mock drills tomorrow as well. Joining us on the show to decode and help millions of our viewers who are wanting information about what to expect tomorrow is none other than Dr. Kiran Bedi, former Director General of Civil Defence, one of the most respected former IPS officers, and a person who knows more than a thing or two about the public police interface. Dr. Bedi, always a privilege. Thank you so much for your time. I have 8 minutes with you, and I know that all of our viewers are going to be hanging on to every single word, so I want to cover as much space as possible with you. Dr. Bedi, my first question, what should people across India expect tomorrow? We know 244 districts are going to see these civil defense drills. What should every Indian expect, madam?
They will expect discipline. They will be learning discipline. They will learn unity. They will learn collaboration. They will learn what loving your country means. They will learn how helping others matters. They will learn personal safety. You have to go beyond personal safety to ensure your own safety. I think they will learn what patriotism is. I think that's what they learn. They will learn to work in tandem, in collaboration with disaster management, local police, and local authorities. I think they will learn to come together. That, I think, is the most important message, how to work together in a crisis. And in a crisis, to avoid a crisis. Not to deal with a crisis, but how to even prevent a crisis if you rehearse well. So I think that's what rehearsal means.
Ma'am, air raid sirens, getting people in crowds to get out and evacuate places which may be under threat, camouflaging vital installations at all, etc. Can all of this happen in a short period of time? And people are anxious across the country because the last time these drills happened was during the 1971 war, ma'am.
I think most important thing is learn to observe a blackout. Because the blackout means everybody in line, not even a candle out. They will learn, number one, blackout, which means ultimate sacrifice. No fans, no lights, no inverters, no televisions, no phones. Even the online, you will be switched off. I think they learn to observe blackout, in which it equalizes everybody. So I think learning of a blackout is the best rehearsal. Because it truly unifies everybody in this country. Secondly, when the siren blows, response to the siren. What do you do when the siren blows? Where are you? Where do you run for protection? Where do you take cover? So whether you're on the road, or you're at home, or you're in the field, where do you take? Whether you're in the school, I think they're learning this. Secondly is the siren. Siren and the blackout. You see, rest of the things are really specialization. Camouflaging. There's enough people because all vital installations are covered by CSF and many others. They will cover devices, they will practice, but they will get assistance. They will even get, so I think what they are learning is these two things are vital because it checks your dedication It also gives yourself to when you're doing a blackout, you're putting yourself in the dark. You're putting yourself in the discomfort. Similarly, when you have a siren, you're looking for cover, but you are then protecting your own self. So I think these are other things will be like evacuations and the medical care, etc. There are enough medical services available, but yet you learn first aid. You learn to similarly rush a person. You learn to take care of the elderly, right? So I think it's like togetherness. You're learning collaboration. You're learning alignment. You're working together and caring for each other. Caring. You're bringing a love for citizenship back. Being a good citizen, and also being a parallel police, but not in uniform. You are a citizen police. You are learning to be a citizen police, to my mind.
Yeah. Dr. Bedi, one of the questions we get most often is, these mock drills will be happening in specific areas. How will the information being, shared there with citizens and others, be absorbed by the many masses of people who won't be under those areas where these mock drills are happening? Will there be some special directives or information that will be released for the rest of the population tomorrow?
Each mock drill, lessons learned, inadequacies found, bottlenecks found will be reported back to the government. Government has asked for a report back of the mock drill. So that means they are picking up what are the loopholes, right? What are the things to be covered? So I think there are going to be lessons learned from every mock drill to be put into a central pool, and that's where the next rehearsal will then be improved upon. I think unless you do a rehearsal, how will you know where are the bottlenecks and what to straighten out? But media is playing an amazing role.
I want to talk for a moment about mass evacuations, Doctor. About the mass evacuations, Dr. Bedi. Can you talk us through that? How difficult is that going to be?
That I think is the most important and most challenging is areas for mass evacuations. And that's where you will need collective help, even of the experts. You need places which may not be built already, but you need to be identifying. That's where a rehearsal will tell us when there is a simulation for mass evacuation, where will we go? I think that's the where will we go will get identified during rehearsals, during the mock rehearsals. Because that's where it will be really result oriented, because you will now know where to hide, where to protect, where to hide, where to evacuate. Evacuation, I think, is the biggest challenge of identifying places.
Yeah, because, ma'am, the population right now is seeing these civil defense drills, as a sort of precursor to an escalation or all-out conflict with Pakistan. Two entire generations have never even seen these mock drills. What would you say to them, ma'am? Because there is anxiety in people's minds that this means that we're going to war.
No, this means being prepared for war if it happens. This means we are prepared. And at least we'll have the confidence that we've done it. We've gone through a rehearsal. We know what it means. We know what blackout means. We know where to evacuate. We know how to handle the siren. We know how to camouflage. We know how to help each other. I think it's a preparation to prevent, maybe. Because I think the message goes to the world. Message goes to our neighborhood and to our enemies. Every citizen is a policeman without uniform, but he is a national uniform. He's wearing his tiranga. He's in a tiranga, not in a khaki, but every citizen is in a tiranga. He's wearing the white, the green, and the orange. So I think there's a message to the neighborhood. And India, 1.4 billion. 1.4 billion united in anger and yet determination and courage. I think it's a large message. It's a huge population. Behind the government. Behind the government. Look at the energy behind the government. And even our armed forces, whether the air or the land or the sea. Look how 1.4 billion behind our millions of people who are fighting at the borders. We let them know we are also behind you. You go win, we will make ourselves win.
Yes.
So I think you win, we win. So I think there's a large collective message by this rehearsal.
Absolutely. Dr. Kiran Bedi, I thank you very much for this brief interaction. And I know people are going to be hanging on to every word of yours. We'll be reporting on this mock drill nationwide starting early in the morning tomorrow. Let's hope everything goes well. Let's hope all the loopholes get identified quickly and plugged. And like you said, it is about being prepared. It's not a signal. Don't panic. NDTV has your back, and we will give you all information in a timely way. Dr. Bedi, thank you very much. We're slipping into a very, very brief break here on India Matters. On the other side, a big India Matters exclusive from here on Ground Zero, Kashmir. I managed to convince an overground worker accused, a man accused of helping terrorists in the past, about the spotlight on those within the local population who may be helping the Pahalgam terrorists stay unhunted for 2 weeks and counting now. Big exclusive coming up.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's leading AI smartphone brand.
More news that matters.
Big exclusive. Tulsi Gabbard gunned down by Pakistan-backed cowards.
When you interact with people on ground, you're able to reflect their sentiments much better.
More debates that shake the system. More exclusives you won't find anywhere else. Not just another prime time. It's a prime time that's unmissable.
गोल्ड क्लास ऑप्टिमिस्टिक रिफ्लेक्टिव ग्लास लगाओ, धूप की गर्मी को दूर भगाओ और बिजली का बिल भी बचाओ।
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of maximum city is infectious. I'm bringing that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti, also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
India's IT capital is always bustling, a city full of startups, stories and surprises. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you, it matters to India. It matters to India. And it matters to me. It's been 2 weeks since the Pahalgam terror attacks, and the terrorists responsible for what happened, the killing of 26 innocents in that hill station, are still at large. Where they are is not clear, but the terror hunt continues in different parts of Jammu and Kashmir, including the forests surrounding Pahalgam itself. The spotlight is not just on the terrorists themselves, but also on what are called overground workers, the so-called local support that the terrorists must have, not only to have infiltrated, but to have also recceed the terror site and then to be able to sustain for 2 weeks despite a huge number of security agencies all tailing them. We wanted to hear it from someone who's actually been accused of being an overground worker. We're going to protect his identity and we're going to speak to him and not take his name on NDTV. This is a recognition of how sensitive and serious this situation is. Sir, first of all, thank you for speaking to NDTV. I'd like to start by asking you about this whole concept of overground workers. Explain it to us, because there is a very strong unanimous belief that terrorists cannot operate here without some kind of overground worker support.
The overground workers are supposed to recce an area and then provide a credible information that how many troops are there and what is the movement, what movement do they make, and how do they come, what is the movement, what is the time of transaction, when do they go in the camps and when do they come out. So that's what is supposed to be done.
In this particular case, the terrorists are supposed to have come in at least 2 weeks earlier. They would have received what kind of support in order to get to Pahalgam?
Look, they must have received the shelter, the food, and also the information what is going on in the valley, and especially the area that the attack happened.
And for 2 weeks since the attack has happened, the security agencies, despite this being one of the most militarized zones in the world, and you know this better, they have not been found. Is it possible for them to do that without support?
Look, if we speak about post-2019, I think somewhere or the other the network has been busted out by the agencies. But this is I am also confused that where are the people who have done the attack? How are the agencies not able to track them down? There's a strong security grid in Kashmir. Nobody, even if I tweet something or write something on my Facebook, within 2 hours I will be caught. So where are they? Who is hiding them? And even after these many recce's going on, checkings going on, how are they still hiding? Who is hiding them? The question is, who is hiding them and where are they hiding?
So that is the question that a lot of people are asking, not only where the terrorists are, but who is hiding them. Now, we have traveled, to Pahalgam, to several places, to Pulwama as well, Shopian, other places, because there is a belief that, they could be anywhere, and there are operations to find them anywhere. Is it possible that they have local support in different places? Could there be OGWs in different places supporting them? Is there some kind of a network that they might have? Because I agree with you that after 2019, the OGW networks in many ways have been busted. So that's a very confusing thing.
Look, anyone involved in past cannot help them. It's out of question. As I am under continuous surveillance. If they come to me, they meet me, they will be caught in 5 minutes, not more than that. It's something that you have to understand that it's a something new network that they have found over here. If I would have been involved, they would have arrested me. And they would have arrested the attackers also because I am under surveillance 24/7. And whole of the Kashmir is under surveillance. I don't believe these things that somebody is helping them and they are not going to, and still they are unable to track them.
There are reports suggesting hundreds of people have been, arrested on charges of being OGWs. You have also, have a personal experience of being put into jail, thrown behind bars on suspicion of being an OGW. I don't want to get into your personal story, but what is your view of this? Many detentions to look for them, because you yourself are asking, who are these people? Who is shielding them right now? Can you answer that?
Look, when the attack happened, I think people from every corner came out. Kashmir observed a bandh. And even after that, if you think that people of Kashmir have abetted the crime in any way, then I think you are alienating people. There is a figure of 3,000 who have been recce'd, and around 90 people have been booked under PSA. So what are you doing? When people of Kashmir came forward with candlelight marches, with a bandh, with hosting black flags, I think the country should have taken a step closer and accepted us as the people that know that they have called it off. But still, you look at what is happening. Not only here in Kashmir, 3,000 people arrested is a very big figure. Yeah. 90 people being detained under PSA is a very big figure. You have alienated 90 people. It's not only 90 people, you have alienated 90 families. With those, you have alienated their relatives. And look how is the country responding to us. They're asking us to leave Pakistan. In 1947, we rejected the idea. We are here. Whatever circumstances, maybe we are here, we are living here. Now, what is the fun of hitting a Kashmiri student in other part of India? In Kashmir, we have non-local studying. Give me a single incident that we have ever touched them, or we have ever hit them, or we have ever divided them on communal basis. No. There are institutions, you have Hindu students, they enjoy with their Holi. We have no problem. I have a institution nearby, and when you have Diwali, the firecrackers they burst. I'm not able to sleep, but I have no complaint.
What is your personal life like? This is my last question. Since you have been labelled as an OGW, you have seen what the other side looks like. You've been to jail, you have these views right now about what is going on. What is your current life like? You've said you're constantly under surveillance. Are you able to live your life normally now that you're out? What is it like?
Since the attack happened, not only me, everyone in the family is tense that I may be arrested again, because seeing these reports, 90 people being under surveillance, and there is a constant threat that you might be arrested. Whenever I get a phone call from unknown number, I get anxiety that it must be a call from any officer or police station that you will have to come. And honestly speaking, after I came out of jail, many people distanced from me, like, why to be with him? You may have some legal consequences, and people often come up and tell, oh, I have to go abroad. It's better that I don't be with you. The CID might come up with the report that he is in contact with the guy. So, there are many difficulties. You are not able to live a normal life. And, people look at you through a different prism. So you are not, after you come out of jail, you are not a same person that you have been. So it's, anxiety issues come up, you have health issues, you have many other issues, especially with your personal life. Your people who were close to you, distance from you. You have everything, you have to deal with things, you have to deal with the taunts. Kisne bola tha karne ko, ab anxiety ho rahi hai to ab kya kare? So things change, and yes, personal life is affected to a very great extent.
I wish you the best. Going forward, I can understand what an anxious time this has been. This NDTV team has been here for the last 2 weeks. We have no plans to leave anytime soon, because we are not here just to cover one layer of the story. I myself personally have been coming to Kashmir for 20 years, literally every year, and I empathize with many of the things that you have said, and I promise you that we will ask all of these hard questions, which we have been asking as well, and we wish only for peace in Kashmir.
Before you wrap up,
yes,
I have an appeal to the country. Yes. The way people of Kashmir react to the attack. Now it's time for you to accept us, and it's time that you call spade a spade, not to do tactics, not to have things. And I request the media from your platform, stop doing these nonsense things on your news channels. Tell people that there was a security lapse, and yes, hold the culprits accountable and leave the innocents. Thank you.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. And now, from talking about OGWs, we travel to Pulwama, where we speak to a group of ex-separatists and what their view is on the aftermath of Pahalgam. One of the most sensitive aspects of the Pahalgam terror attack has been help from the inside. Who helped the terrorists? What kind of support did they actually get? And whenever one talks about OGWs, support from the inside, separatism, those with sympathies for terrorists, the name of Pulwama comes up very often. The image of Pulwama in many parts of the country has been a viper's nest of separatism, of support, of OGWs and sympathy for terrorists, money flowing in from Pakistan and creating a situation where it's a safe haven for Pakistani terrorists. I'm here in Pulwama because we want to reflect the voices of people who've been part of an ecosystem of support for many of those terrorists, separatism, OGWs, whatever you want to call it. Because remember, at this time, the terrorists who are responsible for Pahalgam are still out there, and there is clear unanimity that they cannot survive without some kind of inside support. I have three residents of Pulwama जो हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं आज, जो पुलवामा के residents हैं, यहाँ पे रहते हैं, यहाँ पे काम करते हैं, and they have agreed to speak to us today. We will not be taking their names, उनका identity भी हम safe रखेंगे, लेकिन सर हम इसलिए हम आए हैं यहाँ पर क्योंकि पहलगाम के बाद एक जो एस्पेक्ट बहुत चला है वो है OGWs को लेकर, और जब भी OGWs की बात होती है तो पुलवामा का नाम आता है. आपने देखा होगा मीडिया में, आप लोग यहाँ रहते हैं, आप लोग इस इकोसिस्टम में काम करते हैं, आपने फर्स्ट हैंड देखा है कि ये एक्सपीरियंस क्या होता है. इसके बारे में आप क्या बोलेंगे, क्योंकि लोगों का बताना है अभी कि और हम आगे जाके पुलवामा के बारे में भी बात करेंगे कि जो टेररिस्ट थे पहलगाम में वो सपोर्ट के बिना यहाँ पर नहीं रह सकते।
शुक्रिया NDTV वालों का जो हमारे तक आए और हमारी बात सुनी। ये जो बात है ये सब झूठ है। जो यहाँ के लोग हैं कोई सपोर्ट उनका नहीं है।
हर कोई कश्मीरी, हर कोई मतलब शहरी जो मतलब कश्मीर का रहने वाला है वो ये चीज़ें मतलब इन चीज़ों से तंग आ चुका है। मतलब हम बहुत तंग आ चुके हैं कि हमें ये चीज़ें अब पसंद ही नहीं है, ना हम पसंद करेंगे, ना ही हमें दहशतगर्दी पसंद है। हम मतलब हमेशा कश्मीरी ने अमन चाहा है, हम अमन की ज़िंदगी गुजारना चाहते हैं। दूसरी बात रही पुलवामा को हमेशा बदनाम किया जाता है कि पुलवामा में वो है, पुलवामा के लोग ऐसा वैसा कुछ नहीं चाहते। बस यहाँ पे बेरोज़गारी है, डेवलपमेंट चाहिए। मतलब आज से 5-10 साल पहले यहाँ देखते हैं कि बंदूक, मगर आज का जो युवा है वो कंप्यूटर चाहता है, मतलब वो मतलब एजुकेटेड बनना चाहता है, वो इन चीज़ों में दिलचस्पी नहीं रखना चाहता है।
कुछ इन्वेस्टिगेशन का ट्रैक ये है कि कुछ तो सपोर्ट होगा, नहीं तो वो इतने दिन जी नहीं सकते यहाँ पर।
अगर इन्वेस्टिगेशन इसमें कोई हो, इसमें कोई मुलव्वस है तो उसकी कड़ी सी कड़ी सजा दी जाए, चाहे वो जिस भी हो, जिस जैसे भी वो हिंदू हो, मुस्लिम हो, सिख, ईसाई, जो भी हो, आपस में सब भाई भाई हैं। जो भी मुलव्वस है उसके खिलाफ कड़ी सी कड़ी सजा हो जाए।
थोड़ा सा नॉर्मलसी आ गया था 2019 के बाद और अब वो शायद डैमेज हो गया है।
जी, हम तो हमेशा जो है आपको पता ही है कि हम कन्फ्लिक्ट जोन में जो है अभी हैं और हम इस कन्फ्लिक्ट का हमेशा से शिकार हो चुके हैं। हमारी नस्लें ऐसी बर्बाद हो गई और हम खुद अभी परेशान हैं। अभी जिन चीज़ों पे फोकस होना चाहिए था, जैसे पुलवामा को रिप्रेजेंट करना चाहिए था नेशनल लेवल पे या इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे, वैसा नहीं हुआ। पुलवामा में बहुत ऐसी चीज़ें हैं जिनमें पुलवामा मशहूर है। अब पुलवामा को आनंद ऑफ कश्मीर कहते हैं। पुलवामा जो है मिल्क में जो है एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट वाहिद है जो मिल्क में सबसे ज़्यादा जो है प्रोड्यूसर हैं। सैफरान में बहुत ज़्यादा आगे हैं, एप्पल फार्मिंग में बहुत ज़्यादा आगे हैं, तो हार्टिकल्चर में ओवरऑल बहुत ज़्यादा आगे हैं। बट इन सब चीज़ों को छोड़ के जो है पुलवामा को जो है मिस रिप्रेजेंट किया जाता है।
In the last 2 weeks that we've been reporting from here, it is true that there is an overwhelming sense of anger among Kashmiris, including here in Pulwama, over what happened in Pahalgam. The kind of support that there used to be for separatism or terrorists has dwindled down to a very small percentage because the looming taste of normalcy has reached most Kashmiris. Of course, there are pockets of sentiment that continue to exist, pockets of support, and these men know very well living here in Pulwama what that really means. But overall, there is an expectation now that things will be looked at differently. The terrorists must be caught, those who've supported them must be cracked down on, as all of these men have just said, but don't paint all of Kashmir as being supporters of terror. In Pulwama, with Ashwini Mehra, Shivarur, NDTV. Thanks for watching this ground report, India Matters from Kashmir. Remember that our coverage of the mock drills, the big day, starts early tomorrow. I'll be live from here in Srinagar and other parts of Kashmir. And now it's over to Maria, who's taking you through the other aspect of what's happening post-Pahalgam, the politics of it. The Congress president is pointing a finger at the Prime Minister.
That's right. Shiv, thank you so much for all the ground reports. Hello, everyone. The last word. And I'm Maria Shakir. 2 weeks on after the Pahalgam terror attack that left 26 innocent citizens dead, India prepares for the worst. Pakistan continues to instigate at every step, from revoking the Shimla agreement to violating the ceasefire to mustering international sympathy, all to no avail. In the midst of all this, Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge chose to make a charge at none other than the Prime Minister of turning a blind eye to intel about a possible attempt to target civilians. The BJP was quick to fire back, questioning the politics amidst India's preparedness. Watch this report before I bring in guests to ask why play politics on matters of national security.
सरकार ने ये माना कि इंटेलिजेंस फेल्यूर है, इसको हम सुधारेंगे। जब चूक को आप मान रहे हैं तो भाई साहब मैं पूछता हूँ, इतने लोग हमारे मर गए, उसकी जिम्मेदारी भी आप लेना चाहिए।
A fortnight after 26 innocent tourists were gunned down in Pahalgam by terrorists who asked them their religion, Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge hit out at the Modi government and the Prime Minister himself for what he said was failure to act on intel about a possible terror attack targeting tourists. Kharge called on the government to take responsibility for the loss of life. The BJP was quick to hit back, terming the charges despicable and demanding an apology.
एक तरफ मीटिंग में कहते हैं कि हम देश के साथ खड़े हैं और दूसरी तरफ देश को कमजोर करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। जब जान रहे हैं कि तनाव बढ़ा हुआ है, राष्ट्रीय सुरक्षा का विषय, तो उस समय प्रधानमंत्री के बारे में ये बोलना कि वो नहीं गए क्योंकि उनको मालूम था हमला होने वाला है, इससे बड़ा कोई गैर जिम्मेदाराना वक्तव्य हो सकता है क्या विपक्ष के प्रमुख दल के अध्यक्ष के द्वारा, राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष के द्वारा?
The government, on the other side, preparing the nation for any possibility, announcing mock civil defense drills across the country to coach people on do's and don'ts.
In Karnataka, three districts have been identified. One is Bangalore city as expected because it's a cosmopolitan city with more than 1.3, 1.4 crores population. Second is Raichur, which is sensitive because of the Raichur thermal power station. And the third one is Karwa district, where we have the nuclear power station at Kaiga. So these are the three prime locations where we will be starting the mock drill. The mock drills and subsequent exercises would go on for about a week.
Right.
Then we'll have to standardize our preparedness.
Apart from the civil defense drills, the series of high-level meetings continued with NSA Ajit Doval briefing Prime Minister Narendra Modi for nearly 40 minutes at 7 Lok Kalyan Marg ahead of the cabinet meeting on Wednesday.
The last such mock drills were conducted in the run-up to the 1971 war between India and Pakistan.
Before taking any military action, India chokes Pakistan's water lifeline after closing gates of Baghliyar and Salal dams. As the water flow to Pakistan from the mighty Chenab River was reduced to a trickle, India has sent a very strong message that after suspending Indus Water Treaty, it can use water as a strategic weapon against Pakistan.
On Monday, the United Nations Security Council held closed-door consultations to discuss the escalating hostilities between India and Pakistan over the Pahalgam terror attack. At the meeting, which was called at the insistence of Pakistan, the envoys called for restraint and dialogue. Members also grilled Islamabad over the involvement of Lashkar-e-Toiba, a Pakistan-based terror group.
Pakistan has received the equivalent of an international snub from the United Nations Security Council after it requested a closed informal meeting on the topic of India-Pak tensions. Well, the United Nations Security Council's members, according to sources, have castigated Pakistan and told it that it has behaved in a very, very provocative manner by testing nuclear capable and other missiles in the wake of what happened in Pahalgam. They were also questioned. Pakistan was also directly questioned about the Lashkar-e-Taiba's involvement, as India has said, in the attack that killed 26 tourists.
And joining me now is Rohan Gupta, spokesperson of the BJP. We have Dr. Pooja Tripathi representing the Congress. Major General K.K. Sinha is a defense expert. We also have Lieutenant General Satish Dua, former Chief of Integrated Defence Staff. I'm going to begin with you, Lieutenant General Dua. How do you look at the state of preparedness that we are talking about, the drill being conducted for the first time since 1971?
Maria, I think this drill is very much required because when we were children, as a child, one has seen the 62 war, the 65 war, and 71 war as a teenager. We saw these drills happening. We saw the air raids. Before that, there used to be practices. So we knew the drills. Your generation today does not know what happens then. And I think it's very important to bring about, firstly, a consciousness, an awareness that if something goes wrong, if it escalates, what are the drills to be followed? two essential things that happen is an air raid siren. You have to understand the sound of air raid siren, which goes ups and down. That's when air raid is starting. So you need to get to the nearest trench or a nearest designated place, to your house, to your school, to your office. Similarly, when it's all clear, there is a different kind of a siren. So people need to understand that this is what will happen after air raid is over. There used to be lights out, the blackout as it's called. That blackout is something that has to be followed very strictly. You don't put on the lights, you don't put on the TV, you don't put on a fire, you don't do anything, because that helps fighter aircrafts of the enemy identify targets. So all in all, there are several other things that need to be done. But the point I'm trying to make is that it is a question of awareness. This awareness is very much required, because we should not have chaos when something like this happens. It should be in an orderly manner. And it brings all the citizens together. It also teaches them the value of being good citizens in such times. So I'll stop here, because the point I'm trying to make is simply this. This is in preparation for an eventuality that might take place.
Major General K.K. Sinha, the question is that India is making this preparation. A mock drill of this nature will be happening across 259 districts. So the sheer scale is making people nervous at some stage as well. But what will you tell the citizens of India as far as assurances? I mean, how should we be looking at these mock drills? Many of us were not even around when 1971 happened, so we are not aware of how should the civilians react.
Good evening, Maria, and Jai Hind to you and to your all viewers. See, you said that, the question is that India is preparing for something, and then this mock drill, which is taught in 259 district. There is a panic. See, Maria, you have to stand, there is no panic, which I feel. Today, 1.4 crore people are much more aware than what we were aware probably in 71 or 65, which we have seen. That time, even, this much proliferation of reaching to everyone was not there. Now it has reached to everyone. I think, from 22nd onwards, when the Prime Minister has taken the war that, we will have some retribution, which is the world has not seen. It will be unprecedented. I think, generally the people are there. What has been brought out now earlier, it is making for a synergy for the nation and the participation of 140 crore people of India. Scale of 259 districts. I think, when the India will do it, it might be in certain cases symbolic. When we are talking about, Maria, we are talking about in the backdrop, you understand, the nuclear. I'm not in a nuclear bogey I'm playing. People like Sweden or Finland, which they never have in the armed forces, they have started having a nuclear bunker, understanding what is there, in the time of emergency, using of what availability. Now we have got a basement, we have got a car park, we have got a huge infrastructure, we have got a metro line. See, it is not warmongering. It is in 21st century. If you don't do it, you will miss the bus. The geostrategic situation, all over, it is in such a way it is going. World is at war. India might come, where we are retributing it from 22nd and 24th. The first thing is started, the military dimension. You see, water war is the reality of 21st century. And it is have got a military dimension. We have been using them, in the riverine terrain, the canal, Dishkam Bandh is all based. Now, Chenab, water, 3 crore people of Pakistan out of 25 crore has been affected. Moment you do it, Jhelum is starting. Jhelum Krishna Ganga is going to start. So, then retribution has started. Pakistan, how is reacting? In POK, they have mobilized 2 divisions. Everyone knows about it. They have moved the Armored Division. Today, the 2 division from the 12 corps from Balochistan, they have moved. We exactly know which are the division, because it has nothing to do with Indian secrecy. We know 33 div, 41 division has moved. India will be doing on 5th to 7th, I think, starting when we will have the air exercise on the border. The war has started, it has been unleashed.
Okay.
It will not have the movie type of thing, you know, on the silver screen, which we see, the tank rolling and this and that. The time has come where through you, I want to, appeal to the people. Please contribute. And this is what the synergy is.
Okay. So in these times, is it appropriate for the political class to strike a note which is discordant, Dr. Pooja Tripathi? Yesterday, the official line of the Congress party was that Ajay Rai's comments should not be taken seriously. What about your party president's comments today?
So the party president in the same event said that we unequivocally stand with the government of India in whatever action we take. Today, leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi visited Lieutenant Vinay Narwal's family and met his family, and there also he said, Pakistan should be given it should be dealt with an iron hand approach and whatever the government says. But Maria, the question here is asking accountability is why it's called politicization of the issues. I have the Pioneer report here, which is dated on 16th April 2025, reported by Mohit Kandhari from Jammu. And he said that PM Modi's J&K visit postponed amid security concerns. This is 6 days before the dreaded Pahalgam attack. And it says that there have been encounters with terrorists in Punch district. It says that the terrorists are actively monitoring the tourist areas in J&K, the Dachigam National Parks and the hotel areas in Srinagar. So when the questions are raised, this is a problem. This is a time of not just national mourning, but deep introspection too. In the parliamentary, the joint parliamentary meeting that was held, government accepted that there were systemic failures. Government accepted that there were intelligence failures. So there needs to be, parliamentary proceedings. There needs to be, the head should roll. There needs to be resignations. There needs to be some action that not only, we believe, we have full faith and full trust in whatever armed forces are actions would be decided. We don't want any strategic inputs on that. We trust the government on the mock drills that's been organized, being organized tomorrow. Okay. But what about accountability and when is
what about accountability? What about accountability, Rohan Gupta? Can this question of accountability be put on hold for time being is also a question, but Rohan Gupta, please respond.
First of all, I think it is really not appreciated the way opposition parties are trying to play politics at a crucial time. On one side, they are saying that we are with the government in this time and we are ready for whatever action government is going to do. On other side, the statement coming from till yesterday, you were getting statement from different leaders making mockery of our army and all. That was okay. But now, president of the one national party, I have the report. It clearly shows that just because of the weather condition, his program was postponed, and this is the official news. So when a president of a party makes any comment, he has to verify the news before speaking, because this is a very crucial issue. And right now, the Pakistan media is using the statements of Congress party. That is the situation right now. Do you feel that is correct, Maria? Whatever, you have definitely have right to question government, ask the question, and that's what government did. In all party meeting, everything was briefed, and after that meeting, if every leader says that we are with government, they should be keeping away from this kind of petty politics. It is not required. Either you walk the talk or you don't say. But this is the habit of Congress party leaders. They will say something else, and when it comes on test, they will do something else. Otherwise, after giving the dictate of the central leadership not to speak on this issue, apart from their official line, why every day you are finding one or other leader speaking on the same issue? And they are not criticizing. Nobody has criticized Mr. Ajay Rai's statement. We have seen that for last 2 days what he has been doing. Absolutely no question. Then why? Do you feel that such a senior leader, he can speak something without the consent of the party? No. He's not a small leader. He's the president of Uttar Pradesh Congress. Then why is allowed to speak on that line?
Okay,
and after
30
that,
seconds to both of you, and then I'll go back to the experts. Please go ahead.
The party speaks something on this critical issue. I don't think this is appreciated.
Okay. Dr. Pooja Tripathi?
You know what's politicizing the issue? The Chief Minister of Gujarat coming to the terror site of 26/11 and saying कि दिक्कत borders में नहीं, दिक्कत केंद्र में है. Asking accountability, when does it equate to politicizing the issue? We are asking accountability because we want to fix the systemic failures that our intelligence forces are accepting. The NIA report that's been everywhere in the media reports NIA says that the modus operandi, the communication channels, everything has been exactly the same as Pulwama in 2019. And this is a highly, and in parliamentary meeting, they said that the prior permission for opening the Besaran Ghati was not taken. But today, the print carried out a report that J&K Development Authority floated a tender with one person actually, winning the tender for carrying out tourist operations. When a government authority is opening the tender, when the Ghati is open from 2020, when Kashmir faces a tripartite security arrangement, this is a question of accountability, and questions of accountability will be asked. It's not just asked by us, it's asked by every person. While we support whatever Pakistani media says, whatever they can go to hell, they can rot in hell, and whatever they are saying, that's their prerogative. But we would need answers from the government, because this is a major security failure too. This is not just attack on the House of India, it's a major
I want
security.
to quickly answer this.
Okay, quickly reply to that.
See, Maria, this is the problem. I have absolutely no issue on opposition asking questions to government, and that's what government did. They briefed everybody in all party meeting. See, making mockery of army, is it asking question to government? Accusing PM's intention. Today, it is not a small issue, Maria. There is an accusation on the intention of the PM, telling that he knew that there is a security, that's why he didn't go. Do you feel any party's national president makes such statement against Prime Minister in current situation? His leader, Mr. Ajay Rai, taking Rafale plane in his hand and smiling. Those visuals on Pakistan TV, they are making mockery of that. Do you feel this is asking question? There is a difference between asking question and making mockery out of it. That is what I am telling. Your leaders must understand. We are passing through. It's a sensitive place. If you are saying that we are all together, just wait. We are going to give holistic, comprehensive reply to Pakistan.
Okay, this comprehensive reply. Let me bring in Major General K.K. Sinha and Lieutenant General Satish Dua again on the screen now. Lieutenant General Dua, the question here is that, as you pointed out rightly, but during the surgical strikes, sir, since you were involved in it, you were critical in the decision making then, India carried it out. This time, it looks like a level of preparation which is very different from what we have seen, post Pulwama or post Uri.
Sorry.
Yes, Lieutenant General Dua, that's a question to you. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so, when 2016, when we had the terror attack at Uri,
yes,
we lost 18 soldiers. When Pulwama happened, it was CRPF soldiers we lost, 40 of them. In 2016, when I was the co-commander, we did a very shallow strike at terrorist camps, which is now known as Uri Surgical Strike, at multiple locations. And then at Balakot after Pulwama, we did a very deep strike.
Yes.
Precision airstrike, deep inside Pakistan territory. This time round, there are two things that are essentially very different from 2016 or 2019. One is that the battlefield has evolved. The circumstances are certainly different. That is, civilian tourists from all over the country have been killed, and not soldiers. And the battlefield has moved on. Over the last couple of wars that we are seeing, whether it is Russia, Ukraine, Azerbaijan, Armenia, or Israel, Gaza, we are seeing so many more enablers and stakeholders have come into play, whether it is drones, robotics, AI, space, cyber, and many more such stakeholders. So the battlefield is different, and the response this time round will certainly not follow one of the two responses that we saw earlier in 16 and 19. It will be a comprehensive package. It will be a multi-domain, multi-dimensional package. And the second thing that has changed is both the times in 2016 and 2019, within 10 days and 12 days respectively, the operation was launched. The bold riposte was launched and then announced after it was launched. This time, the whole country has taken it up. The Prime Minister has openly announced that we are going to do it and we will have a bold response, and we'll do it at the time and place of our choosing. So what that means also is Pakistan is already prepared in whatever way it wants to. Pakistan is rattled. We are seeing all that. I'm not going to get into that. We are seeing the effects of waters issues that is taking place, other diplomatic steps, economic steps, etc. But since it has been announced by the Prime Minister, so it is not a surprise anymore. But what is that strike lie? Where will it? When will it come? And what are the other stakeholders involved? So I suppose there is going to be a difference in that.
Yes, clear.
48-hour operation in one or two places and then coming back, inflicting some casualties, just a messaging. Then we have been talking about it. The India has taken a very, very limited, I think self-perceived thing to create a deterrence. Then we did it with the air power. That is also air power. So many, one sortie going and coming back, basically trying to achieve something. See, this time, what has been laid down? We laid down with a very clarity with the terms of reference. The terms of reference you see that, we are going to do something which will not only deter, the Pakistan, but the perpetuator will be taken a task. We will take out chun ke nikalenge. See, the chun ke nikalne ke is already on. 27 have been eliminated of most wanted people. Chun ke to nikal hi rahe hain, and we will do it. See, you have to understand, it is not that, it is the extension of what we have done it. And it is not because the geopolitical situation has changed and all over the things are gone. India has also chosen the time to do it. We have been forced to do it. We are, and that's why the perpetrators are not only Pakistan. You must understand. The bigger perpetrator is the China who's sitting in front of you. He might be talking, resetting with you. He is also doing with the, Bangladesh. If
That's
you
right.
don't do it with this comprehensively, I think you will not get a chance again.
Okay.
And when they are retributing, it is compulsion, that is your, terrorism or whatever. It is an extension what these people are doing. They will finish it off because after that, Pakistan will not have that, longer and to reach anywhere, which they were saying, whether in parliament or into the Pahalgam. So we have to create and show very, very difficult, terms of reference this time.
Major General K. Kisan, I really appreciate your time. Lieutenant General Satish Dua, thank you so much. Dr. Pooja Tripathi, Rohan Gupta, thank you for joining us. We have Vivek Karju, former diplomat, joining us now. Ambassador Karju, on Islamabad's prodding, we are seeing UNSC holding another meeting on the India-Pak tension. The point here is, in this case, India is the victim and Pakistan is the aggressor. But given the nature of the statement that is coming in from the UNSC, there's a great degree of caution is the way it is being read, that it has told both the countries to apply restraint, to practice restraint. How do you look at UNSC's latest comments?
The Secretary General's statement do not really matter. The Secretary General is an official. The UN is a body of countries, member states, and all Secretary Generals have in the past offered their good offices. So I don't take their statement seriously when it comes to India-Pakistan issues. Everyone knows that for India, the only path of negotiations or relations with Pakistan is the bilateral path. As far as the UNSC is concerned, you would have noticed, Maria, that it met yesterday in an informal manner. As Pakistan is a member of the UNSC, the UNSC holds consultations every day, and as part of those consultations, Pakistan raised the issue of the current situation in South Asia. But it got no joy because the president of the UN, of the current president of the UNSC, the chair is held by Greece, did not even issue the lowest form of statements, which is an oral statement to the press. The president of the UNSC, the presidency rotates every month. The president thought it fit not to say a word. And that would have come as a great disappointment to Pakistan. Deep disappointment, even though their permanent representative to the UN has gone on record to say that that the meeting served Pakistan's purposes. Clearly it didn't. And we have to bear in mind that the PR, the permanent representative, was instructed by the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Pakistan, Ishaq Dar, to invoke the UNSC. The UNSC has not got involved. Members of the major powers or members, the permanent members of the UNSC have separately called for restraint, and this is natural. This is normal diplomatic practice.
So in terms of the diplomatic move, we have seen how India has taken a diplomatic position already. There are certain measures which have been announced, which includes the Indus Water Treaty being put on hold, the results of which are being seen in the rivers as well. Tomorrow is the day when mock drills will be conducted on large scale. It is similar to what happened in 1971. How would you see the situation right now between the two nations diplomatically? Can it move in any direction?
Look, I see it like this. In 2016, Prime Minister Modi considered the Uri attack as unacceptable, and the surgical strikes followed. In 2019, he considered the Pulwama attack unacceptable, and the Balakot aerial strikes followed. Surely, by any criteria, the Pahalgam terrorist attack is unacceptable. So if we apply the criteria of the first two, then Prime Minister Modi would be setting in place what I have recently written, the Modi doctrine. And that doctrine is that if there is an unacceptable terrorist attack sponsored by Pakistan, instigated by Pakistan, undertaken by Pakistan, then India will take kinetic action. The nature of that kinetic action is left in broad terms to the political leadership, and the way it will be carried out is left to the professional soldiery, the defense chiefs, and the Prime Minister significantly has said that there are no restrictions on the defense chiefs to give a crushing response to Pakistani terrorism, either in terms of their choice of targets or modalities or timing.
All right, Ambassador Kaju, really appreciate your time here on NDTV. That's all from me on this edition of The Last Word. Tomorrow, our big coverage will be on the mock drill, which will be conducted in 259 districts across India. And it becomes important because it's for the first time since 1971 that mock drills of this nature will be held. We have Vishnu right here in the studio.
Well, it is an important day tomorrow, mock drills. A lot of people have lots of concerns. The authorities will be trying to explain to them what needs to be done should there be a war or some sort of an attack. But it's an important day, and I think it's important to consider this. As India and Pakistan veer on the edge of a military strike, India and the United Kingdom, they seem to be doing really well. Good evening. Welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu Shom. On the program this evening, a historic breakthrough between the United Kingdom and India, with Prime Ministers Modi and Starmer hailing the India-UK Free Trade Agreement and Double Contribution Convention, which was finalized today. It's a landmark deal boosting £41 billion in trade. It'll enhance economic ties, create jobs and foster innovation. What's it all about? We'll be looking at that. Up on the top, we've got tension with Pakistan. Pakistan has been warned that its economy would be in a further mess if they choose to escalate. India signing a landmark economic deal. Next up on the show, India has issued a notice for a NOTAM, or a notice for airmen for a large-scale Indian Air Force exercise. In fact, this is quite interesting because this is the area in Rajasthan, right near the international border, where the exercise is going to start. It's going to be starting at 9 p.m. tomorrow. It ends on the 9th. By the time, this is in UTC time, so early in the morning of the 9th is when it should be ending. But just look at it, at a time of high tension between India and Pakistan,
this entire area of Rajasthan is where India will be holding these exercises. India says that, look, these were pre-planned exercises, but I think given the state of tensions between India and Pakistan at this juncture over this large area in Rajasthan, it just goes to show that, there is perhaps cause for alert. I won't use the word concern, but certainly remain alert as things become more and more tense. But this is for the exercises of the Indian Air Force. Concurrently, as we've been mentioning, India has been conducting civil defense drills to prepare for potential hostilities. We'll be joined by former Army Chief General V.P. Malik, senior diplomats and others to look at this period, what has been referred to as a potential lull before a storm. And finally, later on the program, in a historic move, the Supreme Court has for the first time publicly disclosed the assets and details of 21 of its 33 sitting judges, including Chief Justice Sanjeev Khanna, who's declared a fixed deposit of 55 lakhs, prompted by a controversy over alleged burnt cash found at a Delhi High Court judge's residence. The court's resolution mandates public disclosure, ending voluntary practices. This transparency push includes details of judicial appointments and aims to restore public confidence in India's judiciary. We'll come to that in a moment. But first, let's take a look at this historic India-UK trade agreement that's set to redefine the equation between both countries. The Prime Minister announced this on Twitter. The United Kingdom has also announced that, it is a very big step. So here are 6 key points on why this is a significant deal. Now, the free trade agreement and the double contribution convention mark a historic milestone in the India-UK comprehensive strategic partnership. It strengthens the foundation for long-term collaboration. Now, the agreements will significantly boost bilateral trade and investment between two of the world's largest open market economies, creating new business opportunities. By promoting trade in goods and services, the free trade agreement is expected to spur innovation and generate new employment opportunities in both India and the United Kingdom. The agreements deepen people-to-people connects through increased mobility. It fosters stronger cultural and economic bonds between the United Kingdom and India. The free trade agreement enables India and the UK to collaborate on developing products and services for global markets, enhancing their joint competitiveness on the world stage. The balanced and ambitious free trade agreement aims to raise the living standards and improve the overall well-being of people in both countries by reducing trade barriers and strengthening economic security. This aligns with the UK's plan for change and India's growth ambitions. All right, so that's a huge development taking place today. Let's quickly move on now to a very special guest who joins us, Richard Hill, the UK IBC Chair. Thank you, sir, very much for being with us. In simple terms, what are some of the areas or some of the sectors where India and the United Kingdom stand to benefit?
Well, thank you very much, Vishu, for having me today. Yes, you're absolutely right. This is a really important event that we're hearing about today. The key areas that I think benefit both India and UK have been set out in a number of agreements that have come out between UK and India. And we're looking at areas like healthcare, like technology, like pharmaceuticals, areas maybe that aren't quite within the FTA, such as defense and aerospace, areas like cybersecurity, etc., that are governed by the TSI, the Technology Security Initiative that was signed last year. All of this is part and parcel of a general thrust to actually break down barriers between UK and India in order to encourage trade, as you rightly say, and to benefit both economies.
Now, you've interacted with our Minister Piyush Goyal quite extensively. Now, give us the inside story. Was it difficult to pass this? Did you get stuck at certain stages?
Well, I've interacted with Minister Goyal, absolutely. I thankfully haven't sat round the table, but I've been giving inputs into both the UK side and into the Indian side as to what business is looking for. And I have to say that I think both principals, that Secretary of State Johnny Reynolds in the UK and Minister Goyal in India have approached this pragmatically, but actually very much focused on what is the best outcome for both parties. Last week, as we know, Judge Goyal was in London. I have to say that he was extremely upbeat, very positive, very focused on getting an outcome. And the mood music between both individuals, both principals, was extremely strong. Now, on Tuesday, we were all expecting an announcement. It didn't come, but the commitment was there such that Minister Goyal came back from Oslo towards the end of the week, spent time in the UK at the weekend in order to try and get this deal over the line. And I think it's that sort of effort and focus that has really made this happen.
I think this might come as a welcome cheer for countless people in this country. Scotch whisky tariffs have been a sticky point for the deal. I believe that's been sorted out as well. India is the largest, as I understand it, whisky consumer in the world. So this is a win-win for beverage manufacturers in the United Kingdom looking to sell their product in India. Is that right?
Yes, that is right. But at the same time, I think there's slightly more than just whiskey coming in from Scotland into India. I think there is also an element of technology transfer, which actually benefits the growth of the domestic business within India in terms of technology around process, in terms of packaging, etc. And you should also remember that a large amount of domestic Indian whiskey has an element of Scotch within it. So I think that it benefits both sides, technology as well as trade.
All right. And another key point, this is just the first step. Over a period of time, does the agreement mean that tariffs on certain items will progressively come down even more?
Yes, that appears to be what is happening. We are seeing a number of tariffs that I think 90% of tariffs are being addressed, and that we expect to see a reduction gradually over time. That's Scotch whisky, but it's also a whole range of other areas. And of course, there are certain elements which are being removed entirely, and India is a beneficiary in that process as well.
One more question, just in terms of the size of the deal, and I think this is important to state. It aims to increase bilateral trade by a further £25.5 billion by 2040, right? So in terms of free trade agreements that the United Kingdom has with other countries, how significant is this one?
Well, this is hugely significant, and I think it's significant for both India and the UK, because essentially any trade agreement between the fifth and the sixth largest economies in the world is going to be massively complicated. And I think here we have to give credit both to Minister Goyal and to our Secretary of State, as well as to the negotiating teams, to have negotiated through some 26 chapters, varied chapters, which are really quite complicated. So to move this and to achieve it within 3 years is quite remarkable.
It is indeed, sir. Thank you very much for being with us. I'm also joined by Rahul Ahluwalia, Founder Director of the Foundation for Economic Development. Mr. Ahluwalia, thanks very much for being with us. It's been a stop-start process, hasn't it, for 3 odd years. It's now finally come through. How significant is it for India and the United Kingdom?
I think it's incredibly significant. I think it's not just the size of the deal that's significant, but it's the fact that after a long time, we are showing real momentum in signing free trade agreements. I think India was always a reluctant free trader. And I think this is finally changing. We had Australia show up. You could still dismiss that as a flash in the pan. But having signed this with UK, I think the government is showing real intent for moving ahead on these things. And given the current trade scenario in the world, it's incredibly significant. So I think it's a very good move.
India's in the middle of trade talks with the United States, that's separately, and we don't really know where that's going to go. This has come through. I don't know if you can draw some sort of an equivalence, but the basic question would be, in the absence of that trade deal, that's still going to take some time, does this assume more importance?
Absolutely. I think it both from the side of India and from the side of other trading partners. I think the US is a special case right now because nobody really knows what's going on there, right? So I think several trade negotiations have happened in the US. Other countries have gone in, backed off. So it's very uncertain. But I think the UK, EU, these are trade negotiations that have been going on for a while. I think these governments are relatively more predictable. The question always was about India and whether we would be able to show the appetite for signing these trade deals. And I think with this one, we definitely have. The UK is a very large trading partner. It's a very large economy. And to have done a reasonably comprehensive deal with them, I think shows real intent. So very, very important. We should see substantial benefits to several sectors in the Indian economy from this.
All right, Rahul, thanks very much for being with us. We're going to move on now to the other big story. India has issued a NOTAM, or that's a notice for airmen for large-scale Indian Air Force war games in Rajasthan tomorrow, right near the international border. In fact, it's sort of parallel to the border, as it were. Concurrently, we've been conducting civil defense drills that will be stepped up to prepare for potential hostilities as tensions between India and Pakistan build. I'm joined at this stage by General V.P. Malik, the former army chief. General Malik won us the Kargil war. He knows a thing or two about being in an extremely tense situation like this. We'll talk about that in a moment, but General Malik, I just found it really interesting that my previous discussion was on an India-UK free trade agreement that we've been talking about for 3 years. And so that's the sign of where our economy stands. Yesterday, Moody's came out with a report which said that if there is an escalation, Pakistan's economy would be in deep trouble. So if Pakistan is looking to up the ante, as it were, forget militarily, economically, they are already in a mess, they would suffer even more.
Good evening, Vishnu. It's always a pleasure to be with you. Yes, unfortunately, Pakistan military, which really rules the country, Pakistan, there's a total disconnect between them and the rest of the politics and economy. That's the unfortunate part of it. Pakistan Army has been benefiting from whatever money that is borrowed by Pakistan from other agencies, and they have been making use of them. And so therefore there is a disconnect in that country as far as economy and the military part is concerned. And there is no doubt that today, I think we are almost about 10 times larger in comprehensive national power, which includes our economy and other elements also of power. And Pakistan stands nowhere there. And yet, you see how deliberately they have carried out this very horrible action in
Pahalgam.
J&K, in Pahalgam. And so the things have, there is a lot of rhetoric from both sides, and particularly from Pakistan. And nobody has said that they are sorry for it from Pakistani side. And so therefore, under these circumstances, I suppose, even the Pakistan politicians are quite helpless, not to say the Pakistani public. It's all a military show which is taking place from that side. In their own interest, I would say again, it is in their own interest, particularly that of the leadership, in the corner that they have put themselves in Pakistan, and the personal ambition of the Pakistan Army chief. They have dared to take this step which they have taken in Pahalgam. And therefore, I suppose we have to do something about it.
General Malik, we are obviously taking our time, and that's our prerogative. If we do something militarily, we will decide when we want to do it, where we want to do it. But this also potentially means that as more time passes, that both sides have their fixed defenses in place. There would be defensive formations which would move. And therefore, if there is a military strike, then there is a possibility of India also sustaining losses or hits, because it's not going to be one-way traffic. Is that something we need to be prepared for?
Yes, we have to be prepared for it. And I'm glad to see that the Indian government has ordered this civil defense exercise tomorrow, because we haven't had this kind of an exercise for a very long time. And the circumstances which are existing today, you never know, we can suffer a preemptive strike from their side, as it happened in 1965 and in 1971. And we have to be prepared for that. And we also have to be prepared for any retaliatory action from their side if we start the kinetic operations.
General Malik, we've taken that huge diplomatic step of reducing, of putting aside the Indus Water Treaty, as it were. That may not have immediate impact, but down the road it would. In the long run, how significant is this move?
I think it's a very significant move that has, it is showing that it's a whole of the nation approach. And this is something which we have considered earlier, even in 1999 also we had considered it. But then for our own political and diplomatic reasons, we gave it up. We did not go ahead with this. And I think it is a very strong message to Pakistan, which will not only be to the military, but will also be to the civilian public. And we hope that civilian public will realize where their own military is taking them to, taking them for a ride, literally. So I think it's a very major step, and from their side, you can now feel the kind of panic which is existing. And also, this is another reason why we have to be prepared, because so many times I've heard Pakistani strategists and military people saying that cutting off water to Pakistan by us will be a red line. So we have crossed that red line as far as they are concerned. And therefore, one should not be surprised by proactive action from that side. So that's another reason why I think the civil defense exercise was important, it was essential, and I'm glad it is being done.
General Malik, you've been in this situation where we are approaching a military operation or military strike. As a former army chief, or as the army chief in 1999, what was going through your mind? There would have been very tense moments. You would have been getting constant reports. You would have been engaging the political leadership, and you would have been thinking about what lies ahead. How did you deal with a time like this back in 1999?
Look, I think firstly, it is the way we have been trained. All of us, we have been trained to reach that level and to be able to take decisions. There is a risk involved, but then you have to calculate your risks and then you have to go ahead. It's a duty that is required from us by the nation. And duty comes first. The nation comes first, as far as we are concerned. And I'm sure the present hierarchy also would be thinking exactly on the same lines. And, there is a duty to be performed after that horrible action and whatever the political decision making has taken place. So I'm sure that they're quite prepared. And now I would say that we are in a much better condition, our situation militarily, than we were in 1999. So we are in a state where we can really hit them hard if required. And that is what is required this time.
General Malik, how did you deal, or did you have to deal with self-doubt, gremlins in your head, second thoughts, stuff like that in a moment like this?
There were a couple of tense moments, I must admit, and since you have covered that war so extensively, Vishnu, one was when we were to attack Tololing, and that fighting, literally hand-to-hand fighting, carried on for quite some time. And that was one tense moment. But finally, when we won that, it gave me a tremendous confidence. And through me, the rest of the army also got confidence. The second, I would say, was when they wanted ceasefire, and I was not quite prepared for it. And I had said that to the Prime Minister that now that we can take punitive action from our side, why should we accept a ceasefire? But ultimately, I had to accept the political mandate, political command, because I think in the overall interest of the country, perhaps the political leadership was right at that time.
All right, General Malik, wonderful speaking to you. These are difficult, tense times. Unfortunate that we are here, but here we are. Let's see what lies ahead. Thank you very much, sir, for speaking to us.
Thank you, Vishnu. Thanks a lot.
Well, earlier on today, I spoke to Mr. T.S. Tirumurti, one of India's most accomplished diplomats, on the present situation. Here's what he told me. Well, these are particularly challenging times in the subcontinent, a great deal of tension between India and Pakistan. To share his thoughts on what may be happening at this stage, diplomatically, where is India? What is the world thinking about the events between India and Pakistan? Ambassador T.S. Tirumurti, thank you very much for being with us. First up, sir, in the middle of all of this tension, and we'll be talking about that a great deal, there is this fairly landmark UK-India free trade agreement which has been signed. What is the significance, broadly speaking, in your mind of this?
No, first is that in the midst of all this, that something as significant as this coming through is is extremely welcome, and it just shows that India has a much larger and bigger agenda than than what we are discussing right now. And it also shows a sense of responsibility between the two countries. And it also comes at a very important time because, as you know, that the world order, as we know it, this is breaking down, and we have seen the tide of tariffs which have come, some of the geopolitical changes with respect to Europe particularly. So I think in that context, for India to go ahead and sign a very significant or announce a very significant deal with UK, I think it's very important.
Ambassador Tirumurti, there is the war which is taking place between Russia and Ukraine. We've seen what's taken place in West Asia, Gaza. There are airstrikes which have taken place even yesterday against the Houthis. There are all of these tensions, and now incredible tension in the subcontinent. As India seeks support from our partners around the world, is there a sense of fatigue at one level among our partners elsewhere? Do you believe that we could have seen even stronger support, in the days which have just passed us, or perhaps even now in the days coming up?
No, actually, you're right, in the sense that we have had leaders and countries who have condemned what has happened in Pahalgam. But at the same time, we also heard calls of restraint and de-escalation, and about regional stability. And in fact, very significantly, the EU Commissioner for Foreign Affairs and National Security, she did not even mention about the Terror Act at all in her statement. And that's a very significant thing. So I think gone now are the days of zero tolerance, and there is no more demanding of accountability and justice as we used to do earlier. And I think, there are several, of course, I feel there are several reasons. The most obvious one is that Pakistan has numerous internal problems, which we are all discussed in your show also. The army's credibility being at an all-time low, the popular leader, Mr. Imran Khan, being in prison, and the economy being in shambles. And also, on the other hand, of course, the Jammu and Kashmir elections, the normalcy which has come in, tourism coming in. So all this is obviously, had this, Pakistan has been very disturbed by these developments. But at the same time, you're right that the appetite for another conflict after Ukraine, after Gaza and the Middle East, I think that has considerably gone down. The United States, they have proclaimed that they are for peace and they don't want more conflicts. But one thing I wanted to mention here, Vishnu, is that the global fight against terrorism is really no more a collective fight. And it has got completely fragmented. And the 9/11 consensus, which came about 24 years ago, that consensus is gone. And we are back to the era which we saw earlier of your terrorist and my terrorist. And Europe is tackling its right-wing terror. The United States earlier under President Biden was tackling its racial and ethnically motivated terror. We had, of course, the OIC, which kept proposing in the UN Islamophobia as an excuse for terror acts. And we had China, which you have seen, where they have blocked the listing which we wanted when we were in the Security Council. And finally, of course, Canada itself. You've seen how they have said that if you threaten, terror, threaten countries, it comes under their freedom of expression. So I think there is a great deal of fragmentation.
Do you believe that more support, more direct statements, not support, because there's been support, but perhaps stronger statements should have come, given the nature of the attack in Pahalgam itself, the fact that members of communities were separated and killed? I mean, it doesn't get more blatant, more vicious than this.
Oh, absolutely, in the sense that first and foremost, that it is not just about statements, it is what you call out. If you're calling out terror, don't at the same time try to excuse the terror act by calling for other aspects. That's very, very important. And secondly, and this is something you've mentioned about these are civilians, these are tourists, and they were singled out on the basis of religion, merely because they were Hindus. And in the whole world, we talk about anti-Semitism, about Islamophobia, and a whole lot of other things, but no one has talked about an anti-Hindu act, an anti-Hindu hate, Hindu phobia. In American university, you have seen the protests, and these protests are actually looked at as religious protests. They are talking about anti-Semitism and Islamophobia when it comes to American university protests. It is not about 52,000 Palestinians killed or about hostages still being with Hamas.
Yep.
So therefore, when you talk about university protests in religious terms and you have a blatant terrorist act against the Hindus, I think it is important for us to acknowledge this. And this will give an added dimension to the terror act which has been committed. And in fact, interestingly, I think from whatever I can see, the only exception was the United States it was Tulsi Gabbard,
yes.
And where she called out for what it is and said it is against the Hindus, and she called them out. So this is, I think you are right about this, that there needs to be a much stronger reaction and not an apology being given for, it was done, it is terror act, but it was done because of this and because of this.
The Indus Water Treaty suspension by India, a huge step. India may not care either way for what anybody else thinks of what we've done. We have our reasons for having done it. But legally and institutionally, do you believe this is something that could be challenged internationally?
I look at it this way, that this was one of the most generous treaties in this area. And by any yardstick, it was a very generous treaty. And only 30% of the water was really for India. And there are very important provisions for Pakistan. Data sharing and others are very, very important. And to have a move which holds this treaty in abeyance is a very, very important step. And it is not just a strong step in the context of the attacks which has happened in Pahalgam, but it is also important in the context of the deterrence which we plan to have against Pakistan for future acts. And therefore, now we are basically telling Pakistan that not only will we take up kinetic action, but we'll also have a broad range of sanctions against you. And the only thing which I can think of is that, we had in the UN Security Council, we had a similar, a discussion which took place on the Grand Renaissance Dam of Ethiopia.
Right.
So they were building it. Egypt brought it to the Security Council. I was there in the Security Council. And that is how we dealt with this. And we actually, finally, a statement was issued. But it was a statement which very clearly recognized that it has to be sorted out bilaterally. But a statement did come. So I'm just hoping that the pressure which India will no doubt exert on the Security Council members does not make this into an issue in the Security Council. And they should not be short-sighted enough to issue something which will only make it worse and not make it better. But medium-term implication of what we have done is very important, very significant. Pakistan has challenged everything we do on the Indus, under the Indus Water Treaty. So therefore, I don't. Obviously, they will challenge this as well. But I'm not. So sure that legally they will have a case when security is involved.
You were talking about the Security Council. Pakistan, behind closed doors, as a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, made several references to India, the situation in Kashmir, etc., etc. Nothing that we've not heard before. But it seems to me that fairly direct questions were asked of Pakistan as well, including the role of the Lashkar-e-Toiba. Internationally, does Pakistan find itself more discredited, more in a sense sidelined by the large number of nations than perhaps any time before?
See, they have a history of bringing up these type of things in the Security Council. You'll recall they even wanted, I think, 4 Indians to be listed under the what is called the UN Security Council Resolution 1267, which is actually listing of terrorists. And they wanted to do that, and not once but twice. And both the times were completely rejected.
Right.
On the other hand, when we were in the council, one of the listing which we wanted, that is Abdurrahman Makki, and he, the terrorist, was listed by the council. And there it is acknowledged that he was responsible for acts in Jammu and Kashmir. So for the first time, we actually had a recognition of a cross-border terrorism being done because of his endings. So why I'm mentioning is that apart from many of the others from Pakistan who have been in the list of 1267, that is literally the sanctions list, we also had a person clearly recognized as having done cross-border terrorism from Pakistan. So they are already discredited. And they keep giving dossiers and pretending that India is actually causing terror there. And all these dossiers have gone where it should be, which is in the dustbin. So I think we are on that count, at least, we should have no apprehension. And even one important thing I wanted to mention, when the 6 names we wanted for listing under 1267, every one of those names were co-signed by the United States.
Right.
And not just co-sponsored, it was co-signed. So I think so therefore it's very clear where all this terror and all that is coming from. And I don't think they really have a leg to stand on.
All right. Ambassador Tirumurti, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. These are difficult times, challenging between India and Pakistan. Let's see what lies ahead. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Vishnu. Thank you very much.
Well, the situation between India and Pakistan continues to be increasingly tense. To give us a sense of where things presently stand from an international perspective, Colonel Jeffrey Fisher. Colonel Fisher comments extensively on security issues around the world. Thanks very much, Colonel, for being with us. From where you are, is it your sense that India and Pakistan may be headed towards some sort of a military clash?
Yeah, so thanks for inviting me on your show. I think that the tea leaves are not looking good, right? Between both sides, and it doesn't seem like the escalation's taking any pause. It's just it's continuing to ramp up.
Colonel, both India and Pakistan are nuclear armed. India says that there has always been this nuclear blackmail which has been done by Pakistan, and that clashes in the recent past have always taken place underneath that umbrella. That essentially that's a bluff. Is that something that India can safely rely on, in your opinion?
I don't know if it's something you can rely on, but I would tell you that when nuclear weapons came around, the issue wasn't an issue of if they were going to use them or not, because as soon as you use a nuclear weapon, the war's you've lost the war. The whole launching a nuclear weapon or taking conventional military operations underway. So it's not a guarantee. I mean, if someone wants to end the world, that's the button they can push.
Colonel Fisher, has enough been done in the West, in countries like the United States, to deal with Pakistan, which has been very much the center of global terrorism?
I think the United States has a difficult balancing act. But I would tell you that what I really like, and I talked a little bit about this earlier, India and the United States has built a very good relationship recently. And there's a lot of military assets from the U.S. military complex that's made its way into India, to include the P-8 Poseidon, to include the MQ-9. And that military relationship with the United States is growing and fostering. So it heartens me to actually see that India and the United States are partnering in this kind of way and building a relationship. I think that will bring some level of stability in the long run to that region.
On the other hand, if there is a military clash, there's every possibility of US-built F-16s fighting against Indian Air Force fighters. We've seen that in 2019 as well. Now, Pakistan is authorized to use F-16s in the fight against terrorists. But AMRAAM-armed F-16s don't quite qualify in a mission against India, and yet that's where they will be used. So a contradiction there.
Yeah, it's easy to say that the weapon system can be used, right? But when we start talking about the individual weapons that are associated with the fighter, in this case, the fighter jet, right? The F-16 Viper or Falcon. It's hard to argue that an AMRAAM, which is an air-to-air missile that you've alluded to, the AIM-120, would somehow be used to be able to fight terrorists, because I don't know too many terrorists that are flying, fourth generation or fifth generation fighter jets.
What more can be done to enhance the relationship militarily and strategically between India and the United States? I dare say one of the key points in the relationship is intelligence sharing. How important is that in an hour like this from an Indian standpoint?
Intelligence sharing is everything, especially at the very beginning of a war, right? If you can figure out the enemy's ground order of battle, air order of battle, electronic order of battle, which is interesting because I'm sitting with the Association of Old Pros, the European conference right now where we talk about electronic warfare nonstop. If you can map these things out before the war starts, you have an amazing advantage because those first strikes usually dictate how the war can continue.
There has been an evolution in warfare. We've seen extensively the use of drones in the Russia-Ukraine war. I ask about drones specifically because Pakistan's all-weather ally China is arguably the largest manufacturer of drones, a lot of which would have entered Pakistan's arsenal, from relatively large reconnaissance drones to smaller tactical drones. In the event of clashes between India and Pakistan, do you believe that drones would have a role in the fighting?
Yeah, topic number one here at this conference that I'm in is drone warfare and how jamming the electromagnetic spectrum, controlling of these drones plays into the current war. And nations out there often try and study the last war and prepare to fight the last war, and that doesn't often work because innovation happens, tactics, techniques, and procedures change. There are advancements in the battle space, and that advancement actually during warfare takes place quite rapidly, right? And as we've seen in Iraq and in Ukraine and Russia, I think that both sides, I would argue that I think India has probably built a lot of drones as well and are preparing to use them. So, should this war kick off, I think that's going to be a key aspect.
There is the entire naval aspect of this as well. The Indian Navy among the largest now in the world, and quantitatively and qualitatively larger than the Pakistan Navy. But if India were to respond to the Pahalgam terror attacks with a naval strike on Pakistan, that would be way up the escalation matrix. How do you figure that an act like that, a naval strike, would be seen?
Yeah, when warships fight, it's a big deal, right? And when I'm not talking about fast boat drones shooting rockets or things like that. I'm talking about when no kidding, conventional Navy assets, warships start firing at each other. This is, as you pointed out, it's massively up the escalation ladder, and from there you're going to probably start seeing air assets come in because the easiest way to secure the surface of our naval surface fleet is by air, right? You're going to want to bring in your own fighter jets. You're going to want to be able to secure those types of things.
And a final question to you, Colonel, as someone experienced and in having been a soldier and an officer yourself, you can't always right-size a strike, a military strike, can you? I ask this because there is often a sense that Pakistan's done this, and many over here in my country believe that we can retaliate. It'll be short and swift. Some would suggest that it doesn't necessarily happen that way with military conflicts.
That's true. I would tell you that there's a lot of indications that Vladimir Putin believed that he was going to be in a 3-day war with Ukraine, and we're on 3 years of a 3-day war. So war is not something to move into lightly. I would also say that military commanders, whether they be on your side or be on the Pakistani side, they go to war with what they have. They don't go to war with what they want. Usually a commander wants way more than he has access to. I'm a big fan from the Colin Powell era, where if you're going to go to war, go decisively, immediately, and overwhelm your enemy to the point where you can punish them to where, whether we look at the first war in Iraq, Desert Storm, or we look at the war in Serbia, Allied force, these wars ended relatively fast. We're talking 2 to 3 months, because there was just so much overwhelming force brought to bear against the enemy that there was no option other than capitulation.
All right, Colonel Fisher, great speaking to you. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. Thanks very much indeed.
More news that matters.
Big exclusive. Tulsi Gabbard
gunned down by Pakistan-backed cowards.
When you interact with people on ground, you're able to reflect their sentiments much better.
More debates that shake the system. More exclusives you won't find anywhere else. Not just another prime time. It's a prime time that's unmissable.
गोल्ड प्लस ऑप्टिमिस्टिक रिफ्लेक्टिव ग्लास लगाओ, धूप की गर्मी को दूर भगाओ और बिजली का बिल भी बचाओ।
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I'm bringing that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years. I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti, also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
India's IT capital is always bustling, a city full of startups, stories and surprises. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you, it matters to India. It matters to India. And it matters to me. And it matters to me.
An historic move. The Supreme Court has for the first time publicly disclosed the asset details of 21 of its 33 sitting judges, including Chief Justice Sanjeev Khanna, who declared a fixed deposit of 55 lakhs, prompted by a controversy over alleged burnt cash found at a Delhi High Court judge's residence. The court's resolution mandated public disclosure, ending voluntary practices. This transparency push, which includes details of judicial appointments, aims to restore public confidence in our judiciary. Joining us now for more on this, Shraddhan Farasat and Kapil Sankla, both Supreme Court lawyers. Thank you very much for being with us. Shraddhan, let me come to you first. How will this mandatory public disclosure of judges' assets, which was mandated in a resolution, ensure greater accountability? Is it enough in terms of a measure or a step?
I'm not sure if it's enough, but it's certainly a good way forward because it was something which was being followed earlier as well. And in fact, if I recall correctly, say 10 years back, we would have assets of all the judges of all courts, Supreme Court and High Courts, uploaded on the respective websites. But I think through some non-compliances, that process was actually not being strictly followed. So I think it's effectively a reinitiation of what was already there. It's something which shows, in effect, what the assets of the people who are there. There's a level of transparency. Anybody in the public can examine. And along with this, there is a second thing which I also must point out today, which was disclosed by the Supreme Court, is in terms of the process of appointment of judges. I think there has been a detailed sort of memorandum which has come out, which is again available on the website, which details as to how the process of appointment of judges of Supreme Court and High Court happens, which are the different parties or entities or government bodies which are responsible. So I guess these are just moves towards transparency, because one of the criticisms of the judicial system is, or has been in the past, that it's too opaque. It's we don't know what the public doesn't know what there is behind the curtains, and this is a way to address that. Is it sufficient? Maybe not, but it's certainly a very good beginning.
Kapil Sankla, let me admit this question isn't entirely fair. Be that as it may, let me ask, what measures will the court implement to address discrepancies in asset declarations? I ask this because Justice K.V. Vishwanath's 120 crore investment, it's significant. So a lot of people watching this would be asking, my God, there's a judge with 120 crores in terms of investments. At the same time, there's nothing remotely to suggest that that's unfair, and he has a right to his privacy as well. So how does one address this, the right to privacy versus knowing the relative wealth of judges, some of whom may be significantly richer than others?
Imagine every politician, imagine every IS officer, IPS officer saying that I do not want to disclose my assets due to privacy reasons. Imagine what is going to happen. So if that doesn't happen, I think it is a move in the right direction. Coming to Justice Vishwanathan, he had an immensely successful practice before he became a judge of the Honorable Supreme Court. I think it is extremely commendable, and we should be proud of Justice Vishwanathan to have left such a lucrative practice and give his life and his soul to judiciary and to the people of India. So the difficulty in saying that, there is a privacy concern, is that this is exactly why for the last 25 years or so, many judges, many High Court judges, had refused to disclose their assets, including what I just read is Justice Verma, who had disclosed his asset, but when you clicked on the link, would say dummy PDF page. So therefore, a lot was being shoved under the carpet and everybody was afraid to ask. So it is a great move today that the judges have resolved to disclose their assets. I think it is a great move that we have an access to seeing what their income and their, assets are, what has been earned by them, what has been generated through hard work, and what perhaps they have been bestowed upon because of their parents and grandparents, etc. As far as Justice Vishwanathan and many other judges who have had a very lucrative, very successful practice, I think we should feel proud of them that they could have left that and joined the practice. Joined the legal fraternity as judges.
Shadan, as I understand it, the public disclosure which has taken place is of 21 out of 33 judges. So it's not entirely complete at the moment, is it?
No, that is correct. I mean, it is 21. I'm speculating here, but my sense is that possibly the others will also come through. I don't think that it's a case where the others have said that it will not happen. I think we have an outgoing Chief Justice, and he possibly wanted all of this to come, during his tenure, because it seems like his initiative. So that's why we've had it at this time, but it will probably, the others should follow through. Sometimes if you don't have it ready, it takes time to collate all of it together. That might be the reason. Just on, Justice Vishwanathan, like my colleague said, he had an incredibly very, very good practice for more than 15 years as a senior counsel. And that he has in fact disclosed his annual income tax return of every year. And so have some of the others who were, directly elevated to the Supreme Court. So it's a very healthy practice. And if you look at from the perspective of the bar, when you look at those numbers and what we are aware of, they're not at all surprising, because if you have a very, very healthy and substantial practice in the Supreme Court as a senior counsel, then those numbers are what is expected. So it's in the interest of transparency. Yes, from a public perspective, you may think, oh wow, that number looks big. But in that sense, it's actually something like my co-panelist said, it's a huge sacrifice, because as a practitioner, you make a lot more than as a judge. And that actually shows your commitment to the fact that you're willing to forego a lot of remunerative benefit for being a judge of the court.
Mrs. Sankla, will the publication of judicial appointment processes alongside this asset disclosure also go a long way in, guaranteeing or helping to guarantee the judiciary's impartiality, because that was also there was a concern about opaqueness in that process.
There is a Hindi saying, "Chirag tale andhera." Unfortunately, what was happening is, fortunately, what was happening is that the people and the media had started to question the judiciary. We had many issues in the last few months. There is a latest case of 500 plus crores that we've been reading about. Then Justice Verma, then the High Court seniority issue that took place. All of them have seriously impacted judiciary. Then we also have a problem of kith and kin, where there is uncle judges, etc. So in the interest of complete disclosure, I think it is imperative, because judiciary cannot basically control with a sword or cannot make any directions to people in general, except by the public perception that whatever judiciary would do is in the interest of people, the public at large, India as a nation, and therefore can direct the executive and can direct the other arms of the government to do what it thinks is right. Now, if we lose faith in judiciary, what remains? And therefore, under those circumstances, for them to come clean and to explain that these are the number of judges who perhaps have this kind of lineage, these are the number of judges that have come out from general category, from scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBC, etc., I think are extremely important and are necessary as well, considering what was happening. And I think it is garnering a lot of media and civil society approval as we speak.
Shraddhan, a final word to you. In terms of more transparency, what would you like to see?
I think in terms of more transparency, the actual collegium decisions, there is a format which comes out. I think if some more details can come out in terms of the process, how it went through, even the recommendation, how it came from the High Court in each individual case, I think those will help. Also, I think one of the concerns has been that a lot of recommendations which have been made by the collegiums are just, the government is effectively selectively picking up. So if the collegium makes 5 recommendations, they pick up 3, they make them judges, 2, they just keep it on hold without taking a decision. So I think that's been a problem without assigning reasons, even if the collegium has sent their cases which have been sent for the second time. So I think that is also a problem, because that takes away from, genuine candidates who are awaiting judgeship, who also don't know if they are going to be made. So it impacts their, ability to practice in court daily. So I think that aspect needs to be resolved by the court, whether they do it on the judicial side or in some other way. I think that also needs to be addressed, because of course the government on those issues has not been forthcoming with any transparency at all. So I think there is some level of transparency needed from the court further, but also from the government side as to why they have been selectively picking up some names and not following through on others.
Kapil Sankla, last word to you. You've got about a minute or so. What would you like to see in terms of more transparency? Okay, 2 minutes. How's that?
Transparency is the foundation of accountability. I mean, that's very clear. Disclosure of asset is just the big thing. I think we should continue to push for broader reforms. I think case management transparency, how many judges have passed positive orders, negative orders, how many have been challenged, etc. So that we also have a performance index of judges, especially in the High Court. I think we should have something like a judicial performance data that should be disclosed. And as far as, pick and choose of the central government is concerned, I would also like to see why and under what circumstances certain people are pushed either in the judiciary or as senior counsels, and what is the, the thought behind it. I think that is also necessary. It should come out. This is what my understanding is. Accountability.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank you both very much for being with us. It's a huge step today, one way or the other. The assets of judges will now be made, have now been made public. A few more judges, their assets will also likely be out, disclosed in public. This comes as a response to recent controversies, such as the alleged burnt cash incident involving a judge of the Delhi High Court. Perhaps there's a lot more to do, but this would go a long way in restoring faith among citizens with the judiciary. We'll take a short break. There's more coming up. Stay tuned.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, We are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations,